Well, I'd like to first off thank everybody, and especially thank the administration for allowing me the opportunity to coach here in Dora. I want to thank the parents and especially the kids for putting up with me, I guess, for a season. And the season is long, so I know they get tired of me and they get tired of practicing. But anyway, I basically have set up these awards not so much on stats, but on how they did in practice, how they did it in the games, and just different things that go along with the game of basketball. And our junior high, I'll start with the junior high program. The junior high program, I didn't make it to a lot of practices, and I didn't make it to a lot of games, but the game I did make it to was the last game of the season in the Fort Sumner tournament. They were playing for third place. These kids got down 10, 15 points, and they battled back and made that a game, and I think ended up losing by 3 or 4, but had a chance to win that game against this really tough Logan team, who in the future will be a really good team. So I was proud of that junior high team and the way they battled and the way they stuck together. I know when I did go to practices, they probably hated to see me. I'm a little rough, but I know the game of basketball requires that you can run and get up and down the court, so we run a lot. And I'm not so sure kids nowadays like that, but that's the way the game of basketball is played. First off, I'm going to start with our scoring from the varsity level. Our leading scorers. And our leading scorers, I had 3 kids in double figures for the season, and they were all really close, so I'm just naming these 3 kids. Joe, for one, he actually came along and really produced towards the end of the season. His numbers improved. The things he did got better and better. And Joe was an awesome kid to be around, and he did everything I asked of him, and he just performed. And towards the end of the season, he stepped up. Joe shot 106 free throws. He was 70% on his free throw shooting. He averaged 11 points a game. Did an awesome job. Cash actually shot more free throws than Joe. Cash had 116 free throws, but he was at 59%. That hurt Cash's average on his total points. He also finished with 11 points a game. And I guess the teams keyed on Cash towards the end of the season, and so it made it harder for him. And he still hung in there, and he still played. He averaged 11 points a game, and he was a big contributor to our team. The next one is Hayden Paget. He didn't shoot as many free throws. He was 50%. Shot 67 free throws. He averaged 10 points a game. He's another one that the teams that started focusing on and trying to shut down a key player and just, kind of controlled him a little bit. But he still averaged 10 points a game, and he still gave everything he had. Our JV team. Our leading scorers, I had 2 of them, Hudson and Connor, both averaged 10 points a game. My leading free throw shooter was Bryson. He just didn't shoot a whole lot, but he shot 11 and made 8 for a 73%. Which free throw shooting is a big part of this game, and you got to be able to shoot free throws to win. It's going to maybe come down to that. So, I know he didn't get as many, but he made the majority of them. He was 8 for 11 for the season, and actually played in 17 games. Now I'll start on some of the awards that I have, and I just want to let you guys know that this JV team finished with a record of 13-5. They, we lost some games that we should have won to Portales C team, but we beat Texaco 2 times, which since I've been here, in the 5 or 6 years I've been here, we've never swept Texaco. We swept Texaco, JV. We finished the season as, there's no award for district champ, but we were unbeaten in the district. This team, they tried hard, they played good together, and I think they have a bright future as long as we can keep them all together. And I know some of the kids will be moving up and getting quality minutes on the varsity team next year. Cutter, Hudson, Connor, William will all step up and be a force on the varsity this coming year. And, without possibly having a summer program, we're going to have to really step up and start the season next year going hard, and these kids are going to have to work at home by themselves somehow and get better during the summer. Some of the awards I've given aren't based on stats. They're based on how they did in practice, how they did in games, but not on stats. My first one is the most improved player for the varsity. I have most improved players. I have 2 of them. I have James and Alex. Both of these kids stepped up and really knew their role. James knew his role on the court. He knew what he needed to do. He knew that he needed to be a rebounder or a defensive player. Next year I need him to be a better shooter, a better scorer. Alex, he just did everything I asked of him. He became a defensive player that I could put on a kid, and he would give his all to try to stop him. On the JV level, our most improved players are Connor and Cutter. Cutter knows the game of basketball like no other kid on this team, varsity or JV, either one. He understands mismatches. He knows when there's a mismatch. He understands where he needs to be. He knows his role. He just needs to become a better shooter and a little more of a threat on offense. But he leads the team in charges, and he knows how to take a charge, and he will sacrifice his body. And Connor's a kid that doesn't give you any excuses for anything. He's yes, sir. And he just gets out there and plays hard and does the things he needs to do. Our most dedicated player for the JV and probably the varsity, just for our all-around team, for all the teams, is William. William's a kid that I never saw him all summer, so that hurt him. But during the season, William is the first kid here and the last kid out of this gym. I have to just tell him, let's go, William. We try to end our practice at 5:30. I might be here till 7 with William, just shooting the ball. The dedication that William shows is just unreal, and that he wants to get better. He wants to be a threat. He wants to be a scorer, and he can score the ball. He just needs to work on his strength and get a little better and a little stronger. The newcomer of the year is Sammy. Sammy came in here and really hadn't played a whole lot of basketball, organized basketball. And the only drawback I had with Sammy is I can't speak Spanish. So Sammy and we had a hard time communicating. But for not being able to communicate with us or know what we're saying, Sammy had to watch. And he picked up our offensive plays, what we wanted to do on defense, just by watching. And if a lot of the other kids that can speak English would have done that, we would have been a whole lot better probably. But I don't know if Sammy will be back, but Sammy was an awesome kid, and he tried his hardest. Okay, we have awesome attitude. For the varsity level, it's Cash. His attitude here, practice and in the games and just around the people, and he had no excuses. Cash did what we asked him to do, and he never had an excuse for anything. He just tried to get better and did what we asked of him. The awesome attitude for the JV is Lane and Connor. Lane's a little bit slow, but he tries hard. He does what you ask him to do. He's a smart kid, and he does everything that we're trying to do. And as the season goes on, and the longer it went, the better Lane got. Defensively, Lane has long arms. He gets his arms in the passing lanes. He deflects a lot of balls. He's just an awesome kid, and he tried really hard to do what we asked him to do. And the other one is Connor. Again, I just can't say enough about Connor, the things he does for this team. The next award I have here, and this is a kind of an award it's called the Bad Break Award. I have two kids that had this Bad Break Award. One is Trenton. Trenton, he blew his knee out in football. He would have been really a big help on this varsity team, but he just had a bad break, and we miss Trenton. Miss the things that he could have done to help this team. The next Bad Break Award goes to Austin Wall. Fort Sumner, we're in Fort Sumner. Austin Wall gets his nose broke. I send him and Coach Majors into the locker room, and Austin grabs his nose and just pops it back in place, I guess. I'm not sure what he did. He come back out, and he's ready to play. It's a tough kid. Austin Wall's a tough kid, but sometimes you just got to be able to understand you're hurt and sit down. So he ended up having to have surgery, and we lost Austin Wall for a few games. But we could have used Austin Wall. He didn't come back until the last game, and he helped us. He's a little crazy on the court, but he does do some things on defense that really do help us. Our defensive player of the year, Alex. Like I say, the kid came on. He really improved this year. You know, I talked to Coach Majors, and Coach Majors, he just couldn't believe the amount of improvement that Alex had done this year, and he didn't know if Alex would even get any playing time. You know, because of Trenton getting hurt, Alex got a lot of, he started majority of the games, maybe all of them, and he just gave his all, and he did what he needed to do, and I look forward to having Alex back next year. Has a good attitude. Our practice players. This is a player that comes out here and does what we need to do in practice, stays focused. Practice is hard. It's tough for kids to stay focused. I have kids running around, and you say things once, and then you get them going, and they're asked, what did he say? Well, you need a kid that's focused and that can pay attention, because I get tired of saying things 3 or 4 times. And Cash is one of those kids that he's listening, he's focused, he's paying attention to what we're doing, and he's trying hard in practice. On the JV level, I have Hudson as a practice player. Hudson does what I ask him to do. He's willing to get out here and practice and try and do things to make himself better. Our Senior Leader Award, I have to give that to Joe. Like I say, Joe was here the whole time. He never missed a practice. He did what he needed to do, and at the end of the season, you saw that leadership. You saw him step up, and he basically kept this team together. As the season goes on and the end of the season, these kids are looking forward to baseball. and it's a long season, and it's hard to keep them focused at the end of the year. But Joe was focused, and he wanted to win, and he wanted to move on, and he wanted to keep playing. And in our last game against Melrose, I had a game plan that these kids weren't used to, and a lot of the people weren't used to. We were going to hold the ball. We were going to take 30 seconds off the clock at least every possession. And it came down to, down to a low-scoring game, a slow game. But I felt like that was the only way we had a chance against Melrose. And at the end of the game, I wanted to be within striking range. I wanted to be in a game that it could come down to it, we could win. And it did. It came down to, at the end of the game, a minute and a half, we're down 3. We ended up having to foul. But Joe hung in there, and he bought into that game plan. And I know it was hard for the kids to do that, but it's hard to have that patience, to not want to just shoot the ball right away. All district, I have 2 all district awards, and one is for Hayden and one's for Cash. And I know that Joe probably needed to be on that all district team. There's a lot of good guards out there, and I guess he just got overlooked. But in my opinion, Joe needed to be on the all district team also. So for our team, I've given the most valuable player award to Joe. He deserves that, and he did what he needed to do. And I also want to mention Coach Majors. He's a big help. He comes, he does the stuff he needs to do here, and he's dedicated to this program. He talks about going a full circle. He started out in Grady in his coaching career. He ended up back at Grady, and I guess Dora was his second stop, and he's back here at Dora. And he's a valuable guy to have around, knowledgeable, knows the game, has experience. He'll talk about, shooting in the pit is way different than shooting here in the Luscombe gym. Just the experience he has is just, you don't understand that experience until you've been around him and know what he brings to this program. I'm grateful for him, and I'm grateful to have him and to help me and to be here for our teams. And I'm just so grateful for these kids. I'm sorry they couldn't play baseball. They had a chance to be really good and be able to compete at the, for the state championship, and just the things that they could have done. I just wish they wouldn't have been thinking about it during our basketball season so much, but I know that they did. And I'm just so grateful to have the opportunity to coach here and be part of this program, and just to be part of this community. And I care about this community, and I want to do what I can for these kids. I love these kids, and I'm just so grateful to be part of their lives. And thank you.